I got
Got
Survivor to watch tonight.
Ooh.
You know what I'm
Nick,
gonna watch?
ready?
Peaky fucking blinders. Yeah, I'm ready.
Jeff, ready?
Of course, let's hit it.
All right, let's do it.
God, that's cold.
Freshly picked and ready for consumption. Here comes another round of the Radishcast.
Another Radishcast coming in for you. I'm your fearless commissioner and disgruntled 0-2 manager Mike Fisher. Along with me, just like every time, I'm my co-host Nick Spill Stoll and Jeff, 31-year-old running back Gregory. Let's turn some rumors into facts.
Hell yeah.
Jeff would be
Gotta love
collecting
him
him if he had the option.
He is.
I've heard
Put him
31
next
is the
to
new
Sexy
prime.
Rexy.
Yeah,
Sexy
I've heard
Rex.
31 is the prime for running backs.
I've actually heard that a time or two. I think only from Jeff, but
Yep.
You know, if you think about it, you got to be pretty good to still be playing at 31. So that's a long con.
yes, exactly. He knows.
All right,
I think you guys are onto my strategy now. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we'll see.
I think so. You guys like my new setup?
Yes,
I
I do. I like that
I know
money
no
board,
one-
baby.
I know no one at home can read this half of it, but it's just all the players on my team. I got all of these. Let's see. I got all these draft boards. CBS sent them to me because we bought the league. So I got all these players. So I just plucked mine off and threw them on the left. And then this is how much money I'm gambling this year. So what does that have me? $300 invested right now. Oh no, never mind. 15. So just under 300 invested.
Are you
Hopefully
up
at the
right
end
now?
of the year, I'm up 20 in daily, but obviously nothing
big
else
moves.
has played out. But
Right.
hopefully that's showing some nice numbers at the end of all of it.
Yeah, I'm down big on all my gambles. Let's see if the leagues can save me. Year of the Taint, baby.
Year of the
Y'all are
Taint.
crazy.
All right. Well, speaking of money, our week 2 money prediction. I don't think any of us got it right. Jordan ended up taking home the closest margin of victory, despite how much I hate it. I'm happy at least it came on the back of Aaron Jones and the Packers dismantling the Lions. I guess it's the silver lining. There was a point in the game, and obviously we'll get into the matchup later, but there was a point in the game where Aaron Jones had scored enough points to win, and then he lost 4 yards on a carry, and I was up by 0.1, and then he hobbled off the field. And I was like, what? Yes! Like, I hope he's not hurt, but like, I was like, maybe they'll just shut him down. We're up.
Yeah.
Play it safe,
Take
get
your
him
own
back for
time.
next week. And then he came right back out and scored 2 more touchdowns.
2 more touchdowns. Just good
Just
God.
buried me.
Oh my god.
So the week 3 money line is the highest scoring running back. So over the course of the show here, we'll be giving our predictions for that. So you guys got anything else? Otherwise, let's hop into it.
Let's get her.
This here's the Radish Recap.
All right, the Radish recap. First, we got the SCLSU Mud Dogs and coaches Joe Harper and Troy Heck taking on Grizzly Adams and coach Alex Cooley. Grizzly came into this as the 12-point favorite and took the 108-78 victory, easily covering that line. Nick was the only one that didn't get this right. Why don't I throw it to you first, Nick? What are you seeing in this one?
Yeah, I thought Mixon would have a better game there. 7.6 yards. I guess Chicago decent-wise defense. I thought it was going to be closer. I had no faith in the champ, and it bit me in the ass. So that's all I had. I mean, he listened to our start 'em sit 'em questions. He actually started both Hines and White. The White was the winner, but
Yeah. Listen to you guys. Didn't listen to me.
yeah,
Well,
you suck.
How, how did Barkley fare? I don't even remember. 7.9 points. So
7.9.
Yeah. Right in the
Not
middle
even
there.
look
James
bad.
White.
Yeah.
Or better than Mike Davis. And we told him to start Mike Davis. Just
That's
saying.
true. But no, I thought honestly this game went probably about how I thought it was going to. Kyle Pitts had a solid day for a rookie tight end. Pat Mahomes had honestly a modest output for what he does, but beyond that, there just wasn't a whole lot else. Like you mentioned, Joe Mixon kind of got held down. DJ Chark with only one catch. Those aren't great for him. Jeff, why don't I throw you over to Cooley's side of the ball? What'd you see there?
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Consistent. Kelsey got him 20 again. Samuel had a pretty modest outing of 13.1. James White, Mike, you hit on it. That was a good call. He did well. He got a touchdown in there, so he had enough to get it done. And if you want to hit the drop, Mike, you kind of go into it a little bit more. But
Jeff's worst coach of the week.
Yeah, so this week, as we get through there's a lot of matchups that were huge blowouts, so it was kind of hard to pick one. But if I had to choose one, the one I kept going back to was Troy and Joe's team. They scored the lowest amount of points this week. They lost by 30 points. And it's pretty tough when only one person on your squad scores double-digit points. So they're coming from Patty Mahomes. So that's the worst coach right there for the week 2 there.
It seems like maybe these coaches, the problem was less so decisions and more motivation. Maybe the motivation just didn't seem to quite be there for the team. You gotta rally the troops sometimes.
Locker room. Seriously. So can Troy not predict the future? I don't know. Now I'm questioning it.
He's in for the long con, I think.
It's 50-50. Honestly, that's the thing. Yeah, we don't know quite yet. But all right, jumping on to our next matchup, we got I Am Left-Handed and Coach Kyle Monroe taking on Jay's Juggernauts and Coach Jeff Gregory. The lefties were the 34-point favorite here. Covered it not by a ton though, only by a couple. But covering a 34-point line isn't always easy. But the lefties took the 124-86 win. Nick was the only one that called this. Nick was the only one that had confidence. Jeff, I'm gonna give this one to you first though. Your game, what'd you see?
Yeah, I'll kind of go through my side here. Tough starting Tevin Coleman. He didn't do good again this week, but didn't have much options. And McLaurin jumped out to a nice 22.2 outing early on Thursday. I was pretty high, feeling pretty good about that. And Cooper unfortunately didn't duplicate his week 1 performance at all and had a dud. So I think the big thing you see here is Lawrence had 6, Matt Ryan had 10 more points on that. That right there isn't very good to cover a 34-point spread. So
for sure. And honestly, one of the really tough parts is everyone should be able to count on their quarterback to put up 15 points is a low scoring game for a quarterback, right? Through 3 quarters of the game, it looked like you made the right call with Trevor Lawrence at 7 points. That's not a great thing. Matt Ryan turned it on a little bit late and ended up with a little over 16 points, but still, I really think you got to start getting some better play out of your quarterbacks. Tua getting hurt isn't necessarily great because he's probably the one guy on your team other than Lawrence, but I don't think Lawrence is going to have much this year. He's the one guy that you were probably hoping, okay, this is the year maybe he takes the step. So that hurts. He had all the weapons. Nick, throwing over to the lefty side of the ball, a modest output below expectations. Coming in 12 points below his projection. You getting worried about the lefties?
No, not at all. I mean, you look at that Hill with only 4.4 points, and you look at that whole thing, it's almost like, a little over projection, but everyone either hit their projection or underneath it, which blows my mind. And we talked about that 12 points under projected value, except for Kyler Murray, who went off with 33. He is just tearing it up. I don't know how long that's going to happen. I don't know how long that Arizona offense is going to score. How many touchdowns did they score last week?
Kyler had 5 last week, 4 passing, 1 rushing.
Yeah,
and he had 5 the first week too. Good.
Yeah, they're just going off.
Yeah, well, Kyler had 4 himself this week. He had 5 last week. Their team as a whole. I don't know if they score a rushing touchdown this week. I don't know, but regardless.
Yeah, 2-point conversion.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it was just everyone played solid. No one hit those high ceilings. I mean, this was a time you might be able to get Kyle at 124. Good God.
Yeah. It really does. It really does feel like, barring maybe Kyler having a really off game. It really feels like Kyle's floor is probably. I don't know that there's going to be many games he scores under 100 points this year. I don't know if any.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
He's got a lot of guys that just have solid volume, and every other team in the league, it feels like, has guys that you can hit a ceiling, you can get a 170-point game, but you can also get an 80-point game. It feels like there's too much secure volume on his side of the ball to really expect anything less than 100 points.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeesh.
Oh my God, are you okay?
All right, jumping into our next matchup, we got the Archduke Fish and Coach Mike Fisher taking on Lick McCaff and Medak and Coach Jordan Chartier. The Dukes came into this as the 11-point favorite. Thought we were going to pull out the win at least, but Lick McCaff coming on late with Aaron Jones, 154 to 140. It always hurts. I'm the only one that got this one wrong. It really hurts to have your second highest scoring team losing to the highest scoring team. One of the most classic things in fantasy football. It's funny through about my team looks bad other than three guys, other than Tom Brady, Derrick Henry, and Mike Evans. Like everyone else on my team did bad. So I mean, considering that, to put up 140 points, I feel pretty good. There was obviously maybe I could have played someone over Antonio Brown. Knowing that I would have put me over the top here. But no, I feel good about the team overall through the first half of the late games, the afternoon slate of games. I was projected to have an 8% chance of winning, and I was like, oh, this is stupid. Like I was just
I'm out,
game
down
over,
in the
whatever.
dumps.
And it's funny. So I was out with me and Olivia took my nephew out. We had him for the day, and we were doing a little family time. So I didn't get to watch any of the morning games, and then the afternoon games at halftime we were driving home. So I made her drive so that I could watch Red Zone on my phone. And the moment I started watching, Mike Evans gets a touchdown. Derrick Henry starts going off.
There it is.
It turned around instantly.
I'm a denominator.
The sun came out. 75 degrees.
You just gotta watch. You gotta plant your ass on the couch and watch some football. You gotta win these games, Mike.
So it was crazy watching it go from a 8% chance of winning all the way up to I was at 62 or something. And obviously Aaron Jones put a quash to that. But Nick, why don't I throw it to you first? What are you seeing?
Yeah, both of you guys had some down. You should be happy about your team scoring that many points, 140. But then you look at Jordan's. Dak only scoring 7. He scores 154.
Yeah,
I think Jordan's going to skyrocket in the coaches polls, and if he doesn't, I don't know who's watching what, because his team's pretty good. Sutton came on. You had some question marks about that, Mike, after the first week. I think we all did.
right.
I think Marvin Jones he's still going to be solid all year. I think that's his receiving core. I think he's going to get most of the targets like we talked about prior to the season start. We'll see how Cooks does with who's the starter now? Who's
Mills.
Yeah.
Mills.
So, Jeff, do you think that this is going to be prescriptive? Do you think this is a turnaround for Jordan's team, or do you think this is an outlier performance a little bit?
I don't think he can bank on 154 each week, but I do see Jordan having some really good weeks going forward here. Sutton was the big question mark. Nick, you hit on it, and he looked good. If he's hitting that's kind of that wide receiver room is a little bit suspect comparative to his running backs who are just top end guys. But you like to see Gronkowski in there get 2 touchdowns right away. Didn't play him for week 1, threw him in there for week 2. Oh, you got Tom Brady. You like that any other week.
Yeah.
But
would have preferred him to Antonio Brown or Mike Evans, who were both on my team.
What about Godwin? Give me some love, baby.
Yeah, true.
He got one.
I think I do think Jordan's got some really good days ahead of him. I don't know. I think it just got unfortunate, Mike, that you ran into him on this week.
Yeah, yep, 100%. All right, well, let's jump into our next one. We got Benny of the Jets and Coach Ben Stelzer taking on Ball His Life and Coach John Lamers. The Jets coming in as a 19-point favorite, and the Jets covered that by a mile, 139 to 92. Nick calling this one right. 139, and he's the third highest scoring team on the week. Jeff, why don't I throw this one to you? What are you seeing?
Yep. Rodgers had another, well, I shouldn't say another, but he had a good week this week. Wasn't quite as good as what Nick was hoping for, but got enough to get it done. Lockett, again, just a huge outing. And then Cooper Kupp, just dominant. That guy just is unreal. It looks like he's got that special connection with Stafford this year. And, you look at Diggs, he's down at 14 points. So there's room for growth on this team. And he still put up almost 140. So just a good week all around for the Jets.
Yeah, and we're through 2 weeks, and he's got two of the highest, the second and third most yards for receivers are from Kupp and Lockett, right? Those two guys are going insane right now. So do they keep it up? Both of those guys last year, the Rams always seem to kind of ping pong back and forth between who was getting a good game. It really seems to be Kupp right now. Curious to see if that keeps up. And then Seattle, right? DK Metcalf had 11 targets in that game. Is that you got to think at some point he's going to start catching some of those, making some of those plays, which takes away from what Lockett has the opportunity to do. But obviously, this was a fantastic game. I am starting to get, I'm a little bit concerned. We see Jamar Chase has had 2 good games here for John, but both of them have come with a 42-yard touchdown this week and a 50-some-yard touchdown last week. Obviously, you want your guys to be able to do that, but he only had 2 catches in this entire game. So I wonder if he's going to be a reliable starter going forward or if he's going to turn into one of those boom-bust kind of guys, because if he doesn't get that one pass, it's 1 catch for 12 yards. So Nick, anything else you're seeing on John's side of the ball?
Yeah, as you said it, Chase, 7 targets the first game, only 4 the second game. We'll see if that – you got to get those target shares up a little bit if you want that or higher floor player that John wants him to be. So you look through that, DK Metcalf, I think the volume's there. I think, as we saw last year, it just rotated between DK and Lockett, who was going off, and DK has his time. Najee looked good, just the volume he's getting. And then Clyde, I don't know what's going on with Clyde. I thought he'd have a better year this year. He started off pretty poor. I know I tried to redraft, and
I got to think that this is going to be Clyde's worst game, right? I mean,
I have to.
It's hard to be much worse, but no, it's one of those things where you got to think that he's getting enough volume on a high enough scoring offense, right? Whatever you think about the player, whatever you got to think it's going to turn around at least. Not saying he's going to be an all-star, but he should be a guy that puts up 8 to 10 as a pretty steady floor. He's just not getting the receptions right now, and they don't run enough for him to get it done on the ground.
Yeah. Or touchdown work, because I think last year, didn't he have 4 touchdowns or something? You're like, he has to have more of a share.
Yeah, and he had a ton called back last year. I know that was a big point of everybody who wanted to be like, oh, well, he should have 8, but a bunch got called back. That's always a tough one. People always say touchdowns aren't really something, like they're not a sticky stat. I hear a lot. They're not something you really count on. Obviously, some players play in a way that gives them more touchdowns than others, but running backs especially, the difference between a 6-touchdown year and a 12-touchdown year can be a fine line and turns you from the best running back in football to middle of the pack. So it's interesting. We kind of talked about Metcalf. I got to think he's going to bounce back here. I think picking up Mike Williams is going to really round out John's team. I think better days are ahead. So moving on to our next one, we got the Taint Ticklers and Coach Nick Stoll taking on Cobra Kai and Coach Kyle Stankowski. Taint was the 14-point favorite in this one, but could not get it done. Kai winning 103-85. I got this one wrong. It was a relatively low-scoring affair, but Stank was able to do what he needed to do. Jeff, why don't I throw this one to you? What are you seeing?
Yep. Stank, like you said, Mike, he just did enough to get the win. And with Hawkinson kind of paving the way and Hurts being his leading scorer, there isn't anything on his side that is just outstanding or wow factor. Adams had a decent game, 16.1. So, again, there's room for him to improve. And I think he's happy walking away with a win on this one. And, that's about all I have for that. It's just an average performance that got enough to get it done.
Yeah, it's funny. You see, a game where 4 touchdowns went to Aaron Jones and 3 of them being receiving touchdowns. Devontae, you got to think that that's not going to be prescriptive the whole year. He's going to get 1 or 2 some of these games, and he's going to start blowing up. That has the potential to obviously make this a way more of a blowout than it even was. Even as it stands, Nick, you didn't fare all too well. Nick, from your side of the ball, I mean, this is pretty much your locked and loaded starting lineup minus maybe the flex switching around. Are you getting concerned at all?
I don't know. I feel like Gibson still, he has to be better than the last couple of games. What is it, 10-8 or something like that? He has to have the volumes there. I think he's going to get better. Kamara, I thought he was bust proof. We've talked about that prior to the show. 5 points. Hit that fucking drop, Mike.
There it is.
Nick's bum of the week.
Spare the change, sir. No, off.
Dude, I need one more screen. 2 isn't enough.
3 screen Mike. Kamara is my bum of the week. 5 points expecting. I'm relying on him to score at least 15. Not at least 15, but a high floor, double digits at least. You never expect him with 5, and they look bad. New Orleans looked bad against Carolina after looking incredible against Green Bay.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is nothing to be scared of going forward. I think this, once again, will probably be one of his lowest scoring games, if not lowest scoring. Looking at Keenan Allen, too, will he get a touchdown? He keeps going over the 100-yard mark, so if we can throw a touchdown in there, that'll look a lot better.
Yeah, I would appreciate it, please.
They're all going to Williams.
I know.
All right, let's jump into our last recap game, which is Old Man Joe and Coach Joe Thomas taking on the Aaron Rodgers football team and Coach Tony Fisher. The football team 15-point favorites in this one. They took the win and covered it 107-83. None of us got this right. We all expected a little bit closer game, and I think part of that too is because A.J. Brown's got to be better at some point. 5.8 points is not going to get it done. Part of that just comes from the fact that Tennessee offense runs through Derrick Henry, right? When he's getting 44 points, is not a lot of points for receivers to gather. Laviska Shenault only getting a point hurts. His running backs both sub 10, all 3 sub 10. That's not great. Jeff, why don't I throw it to you? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think Joe just had kind of that average week where nothing really went well for him. DJ Moore had the best performance on the squad, and you like to see that. But I think Mike, you mentioned it, AJ Brown, he's just got to be better, and he's going to be. But you look over at Tony's side of the ball, and he had his running backs hit, his wide receivers did enough, and Josh Allen is just going to continue to get better. I have no doubt about that. So he this week had enough to get it done and walks away with a win.
Yeah, I really expected a better start to the year from Josh Allen. Only putting up 16 points in a 35-point outing. I really thought
rushing touchdowns, man.
Yeah, and that's really what he's missing. Nick, do you think Quintez Cephas has done enough to maybe start seeing the lineup? That's two solid weeks in a row for him. Tyrell Williams might miss again. You're playing him over a guy like Shenault. Is he done enough to earn that?
Is Shenault hurt? He got hurt that game, right?
He did.
He might plug and play. I don't know. What is another option if he's hurt? I'll have to look down there.
He's got Ayuk. I mean, I don't know if you want to play Ayuk yet.
No, not yet. I think he almost has to play him. I mean, maybe Carter off a decent game, but that split. So I don't know. That is a tough call.
Yeah.
I mean, Burrow with 10 hurts. Laviska Shenault getting hurt. Fant, decent target. What was his target share? I think he only had 4 receptions. That receiving touchdown really saved him. I thought he was going to have a lot more. It seemed to go to Sutton.
He had 6 targets still.
Yeah, which that's decent.
And Burrow's points were all at the end too. I mean, he had 2 late touchdowns that really, I think early in the 4th, he was in like negative points at one point, and then kind of turned it around late. So
3 picks ain't gonna do much for you.
No.
Yes, exactly. That hurts.
All right, well, coming off of all those games, Jeff has taken the lead in the standings at 7-5 with a 3-3 week here. Nick made a good push though, 4-2 this week, coming up even at 6-6 overall. Not a great week for the main host. 3-9 overall after a 1-5 week. It's a long season. Don't worry, I'll throw a double up in there, and I'll be back on your tails in no time.
Yeah.
But
We're coming for that ring, baby.
no chance. She's right here, safe and sound with Daddy.
Keep her warm for me.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's take a look at the week ahead. How about?
Dive on into the Husky League matchups.
All right, we got the Husky League matchups. Lick McCaff and Medak at 1-1, taking on Grizzly Adams at 2-0. Lick McCaff is the 14-point favorite in this one, so the projections are favoring, the recency of how good McCaff has been doing these last 2 weeks, how well Jordan's team's been performing. Jeff, why don't I toss this one to you first? What do you see?
Yeah, Cooley's got a couple changes to his lineup. He's got Renfro in there. He's got Slayton. Corey Davis didn't have a good week last week, so he's kind of changing it around. And I think Slayton had a pretty solid outing, so he might be chasing some points there a little bit. But like I mentioned earlier in the recap, I just like the squad that Jordan's throwing out there. So I got him covering this. 14 points is a lot for a guy that's 1-1, and the guy he's going against is 2-0. But I just think that McCaffrey and Jones are going to keep rolling like they have been and do enough to cover that and take the win.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier this year. You never want to start two New York Giants on the same team. And that's what we're looking at right now. Barkley and Slayton both in the starting lineup. Hunter Renfro, those just don't feel like great plays. All that said, I keep doubting Cooley. I keep betting against Cooley.
Yeah,
It keeps not working for me. Cooley, I'm gonna give you this one. I'll give you this one for free.
Ooh.
So I know you won't cover now because I'm putting anything on you. But I'm gonna take
Thank
Cooley.
you.
I think 14's enough that I'm gonna take Cooley in this one. Nick, what about you?
I am going to say Jordan covers. Like we talked about, I think he's going to skyrocket in the coaches' poll. I mean, Dak's got a pretty hard matchup again against Philly, but those running back room, oh my gosh. And I think I'm going to say CMC is going to be the top running back scorer this week against that pitiful Houston defense. And I think they're going to run away with this game. Carolina will. So, yeah, looking at this, Slayton, he is chasing points with his 2 touchdowns. I think he had 2 touchdowns the first 2 weeks. I think Ingram's coming back this week as well. I mean, that's not saying much. Ingram hasn't been super involved, even though everyone wants him to be. Mike Davis, I don't know with Cordell there, is that going to take some carries away? He looked pretty good last week.
Yeah,
so,
he did.
I just think Jordan, even we have some question marks about that receiving room, especially Cooks. We touched on it earlier, but I think it's sneaky solid. I think it's decent. So I think I'm getting scared, more and more scared of Jordan's team.
Yeah, I definitely think he's got some of those receivers that are better than maybe they're not guys that got super hyped up, but I think they're all guys that they're the ones on their respective team. When you look at Cooks, when you look at Marvin Jones, I think both those guys are going to lead their teams. Even if the teams are bad, someone's still got to get points. Someone's got to get catches there. I think that's kind of the realm that those two fall into. Jumping on to our next one, we got the Aaron Rodgers football team at 1-1, taking on Jay's Juggernauts at 0-2. The football team are 14-point favorites in this one. When I started looking at this, you look at the top of the roster, and Josh Allen, Austin Eckler, and Chris Carson are just miles better than Jeff's quarterback and running back starts.
Jeez.
But Jeff's receivers usually is kind of where he makes his hay. Jeff, you have a really strong receiver room that's kind of your thing, but tough matchups. Calvin Ridley, the Giants are a solid defense. Terry McLaurin, the Bills are a solid defense, and Amari Cooper. I think the Eagles have shown us that they're a lot better than people maybe gave them credit for. So I think those tough matchups are enough. I'm taking the Aaron Rodgers football team even with the 14-point line. Nick, what about you?
I am also taking Tony in this game. We cover that 14-point line. I think Justin Jefferson is due on Seattle's crappy defense. I think he's going to outscore Thielen this week. He's just due for a huge game. So, he's had some modest games. What is 14? I forget the week 1 total, but I think it was right around that teen mark, 10. He had 10 the first week. So I think he's going to go off. We had a Waddle with a down week last. Not very good defense. I like Eckler's still decent against Kansas City if he's involved in the passing game, and Carson against Minnesota if they get up and start feeding them. I just think his team's a lot better than what you got going there, Jeff, especially with those matchups that Mike touched on. Well, I'm just
can't blame you. I'm not gonna lie, I had Tony written down here, but the way you guys are talking, I'm gonna switch it over to myself to cover this one.
Ooh, damn.
Gotta be the underdog here. Yeah, the boys are fired up now. So that Jacobs being hurt, he's in there right now, but he won't be by the time the game rolls around. I just don't think he's gonna play this week. It doesn't sound good. And I'm really, Mike, you mentioned it, my wide receivers, that's where I make my money. Those guys have got to show up. They got to come out to play. And I'm kind of excited to see what Mooney looks like with Fields in there as a starting quarterback. I think it's going to be, Robinson is going to get locked down. A lot of the defense is going to be tailored towards him. And I'm hoping Mooney is just a target monster in the short or mid range and takes one to the house. So, we'll see how that goes. But it's going to be a tough one. Tony's team is solid from top to bottom, and that's why he's been one of the higher ranked teams, in the first few weeks. I don't know where he's going to come in for the consensus rankings for week 3, but we'll see how it goes. I have a question for you guys for a start sit though. It's, my quarterback room, we mentioned it earlier, is pretty tough, and I'm trying to just get 15 points, 16 points is never a good situation to be in. But do you think Lawrence or Matt Ryan this week would be the better play?
Nick, you want to take this one first?
Yeah, sure. I think you got Matt Ryan against the Giants and then Lawrence against Arizona. I think Lawrence is going to have to pass the ball a little bit, but that doesn't mean the Honey Badger and everyone's going to start picking him off. I still think you roll with Lawrence, even though looking at last week how poor it was. I think you leave him in there.
Doesn't the Honey Badger play for Kansas City?
I don't know why I did. Yes, very true. Wait a minute. That's not right.
I'm actually going to go to the other side of it. You saw Tennessee 2 weeks ago with their passing attack get down big, and that didn't mean much for them. They still couldn't do a whole lot, and I don't think that Jacksonville's offensive line is anything compared to Kansas City's, I think, or to Tennessee's, I'm sorry. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be running for his life. I don't think it's going to be a great game for him. As an underdog here, I think you got to play Matt Ryan. I think you got to tell yourself a story of I need Calvin Ridley to have a monster game, and how does that happen? Well, right. It's Matt Ryan throwing him 2 touchdowns and throwing for 300-400 yards. So I think that's the move. I think that's probably the play, knowing that you're the underdog, to try to shoot for the moon and go for that stack there.
No, I hear you. The one thing I am waiting for, and I haven't seen and I haven't really dug into it too much, but I just am surprised that Lawrence hasn't had more rushing yards. It seems like he is content with kind of shuffling, staying in the pocket, making a difficult throw or just, eating it at times. And, you see a lot of rookie quarterbacks just take off and run. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing if he's making those reads fast enough, but it'd be nice to see a couple more rushing yards coming from him because he can do it. He's athletic enough. But
if I was his quarterback or if I was his head coach, I'd say we're not winning shit this year. Yeah. Don't you put yourself in danger. You dump that thing off. 2 years from now, when we have a good team, they won't. But when your coach thinks you'll have a good team 2 years from now, then we run.
Yeah, but this is fantasy we're talking about, man. Those are points right there.
Doesn't he know my team needs him?
Talk to him, Jeff.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right, our next matchup is the Archduke Fish sitting at 0-2, taking on the SCLSU Mud Dogs at 1-1. So, despite being 0-2, I'm still an 8-point favorite in this one. Jeff, I'll give it to you first. What are you seeing?
Yeah, Mike, I think this is the week you get your first win in the season. So I'm going to roll with you for covering that. I just think that Tom Brady against the Rams it looks like it's going to be kind of a shootout matchup is what I think. So, you rolling with Evans and Tom Brady right now, I just see a lot of points in that game. The other thing too is you got to love what you saw from Henry last week. And if he can even do half of that, it's going to be in your favor. Taylor, he got stuffed, 3 or 4 times inside the 5-yard line. It's like if he puts that in, he turns a 5-point outing into a 13 or 14, whatever it might be, or even a 20 if he gets a few more of those in there. So I think you're going to cover this one, Mike, and I think you're going to cover it pretty easily. But I will slide in who I think is going to be the highest running back this week. I don't know why I'm going with this, but I think Joe Mixon for some reason is going to be my pick. So it's going to be a tough matchup. But
tough matchup.
He does it. I don't know. That's that gut.
He's got a feeling there.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's my personal bias coming into it, but I'm actually going to take Derrick Henry to repeat. I think he's got a good matchup against Indy. Indy's got some quarterback troubles, an injury to Carson Wentz that they could get up and he could really roll. Honestly, the best thing I saw last week and even week 1 is the fact that Derrick Henry, the big concern is always, he gets game scripted out. He can only run. He's got 10 catches through 2 weeks. He's shown it 2 weeks in a row that he can play in negative game scripts. And so I'm really excited about that from Derrick Henry. I think adding that to his game, if that continues, is going to be monstrous. It gives him, it gives him the opportunity to challenge a Christian McCaffrey for the overall RB1. It puts him in conversation that really only like a Dalvin Cook and maybe an Alvin Kamara were in that conversation before. Yeah, right. If he adds pass catching, it really puts him into that. But yeah, I'm taking myself to cover this. I think I got some good matchups. I think this is the week for George Kittle. He had 78 yards or so week 1. So I think that was a fine week. Last week, nothing really. But I think Green Bay is going to put up a lot of points. San Francisco, all that running back room is all banged up. They got to rely on him, I have to imagine. So I think this is George Kittle's week. So I'm taking myself to cover this. Nick, how about you?
I'm also taking you to cover this 8-point line here. Yeah, we talked about it, just mentioned about that Tampa Bay Rams game. Another great matchup. I think the Rams are, it says against opposing receivers 31st. I know it's through 2 weeks, but Tampa Bay is, sorry. Tampa Bay is 31st. So Woods is going to have a decent game there. We'll see if it flips over to Woods from Kupp. As I kept saying, I think they got some kind of connection with Stafford and him. But looking at Mixon, I actually hate that matchup, and I don't think he's going to do very well. And I think we talked about game script too for your running back room. I think you just got to hope they feed Taylor early and just take the ball. If Wentz doesn't play, take the ball out of Brissett's hand and get those points early, and then Tennessee's going to go up big, and Henry just gets all those.
Do you know what team anybody plays for? Jacoby Brissett plays for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
What is my deal today? It's because I slept all Sunday.
You jump from Mixon to Brissett to Henry. And
I know. I was going running back versus running back, and I'm all over the fucking place today. Boys, I'm just retiring.
So maybe Jacoby Brissett will play into the Myles Gaskin play side, but Oh, man. The show is in
God
early
damn.
season form. Jeff not knowing who the
this
Lions
is
quarterback is. Nick not knowing who
Nick-
anybody plays for.
Anyone, literally anyone. What is my deal?
Oh, early season form. You got to love it.
God damn.
So I got to start sit question for you guys, and coming from the same team in my flex spot, Hollywood Brown is the wide receiver 10 right now, I believe, wide receiver 9-10 on the season. Do I put him in the flex, or do I stick with who I got in there now, which is Tyson Williams in the same game going against Detroit, both of them? I don't know, Nick, Jeff, whoever wants to start with this. What do you think?
I would go, if I was you, Mike, I think Brown through the first 2 weeks has shown enough. I don't know. I haven't looked back, and I don't know why I'm thinking this, but it seems like he always starts out strong. So I would run with Brown. You got enough in here too going against Troy that even if he doesn't perform the greatest, I think Henry and Taylor are going to do just fine for you, and you're going to win this matchup. So I would try to ride the hot hand, and that's been Brown here recently. I don't think you're wrong either way, though, with whichever one you choose.
Nick?
True. I think I'd go Williams. As we were talking about, I don't think you need a high ceiling, and I think that game's going to kind of be a blowout, and I think they're going to run the ball all over the Lions. So I say keep him in there. It's maybe a lower ceiling play, but a higher floor play, and I think that's all you need for this game. So,
right.
Yep, that's probably true. Nick, did you tell me I didn't write it down? Who you taking in this one? You taking me?
yeah, I took you. And that disaster of a breakdown. Good God.
I think I just lost. I lost track.
Just get me out of here. I'm bouncing around. I'm throwing players that aren't even on the teams on there. God damn.
All right. Well, moving on to our next matchup, we got Cobra Kai sitting at 2-0, taking on Ball is Life at 0-2. Cobra Kai is the 15-point favorite, and we actually took our first chance to sit down with another manager and talk to Kyle a little bit. I'm going to jump over to that footage now. All right, we're here with Coach Kyle Stankowski of the Cobra Kai team. Welcome, Kyle.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, we're happy to have you, one of our biggest critics on the show today.
Oh, of course. You know how it goes. So once I lose a game, I'll probably be quiet. But I haven't, so.
Got to get them in while you can.
Gotta get him in while you can. You'll understand, Jeff, someday.
No, he won't.
Just waiting for my time.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I said someday. I didn't say it was just teasing.
Oh, Kyle, you're coming in 2-0, feeling pretty hot, and 2-0, honestly, against two of the better teams in the power rankings. How at the start of the year and coming into this, was this kind of how you were expecting it to play out, or were you a little concerned about those two matchups?
Yeah, obviously I was pretty concerned about the early season ones. The way my team's kind of structured, it's very middle heavy. So I kind of figured once we start hitting bye weeks, and I'd probably be less affected by that than the other teams, and that's kind of when I'd make a little hay. So just to have these wins at the beginning with everyone playing, it's just icing on the cake. So it'll look good at the end of the year having these couple wins in my record.
Yeah. Coming from somebody who's on the other end and taking two divisional losses early, I'm unfortunately probably going to feel that later in the season when tiebreakers are working out and stuff.
Well, the good news is you got another crack at those guys, whereas if you, lost to Jeff in week one, well, you're probably not going to be tied with Jeff, but
yeah.
Got him again.
Just roasting.
Just tearing them up. All right, Stank. So you want to walk us through the emotions and the roller coaster ride that was that Zeke trade? I know it started off that first counter, Chark and a first for Zeke and Landry. You think you made out pretty good, or?
I think I could have got more. No, I'm kidding. It was pretty good. I mean, everyone I've talked to, I was like, would you give up that much? And they say no. So I was like, well, I guess I won't. But yeah, anyway, the way it all kind of started, you weren't being very active, and when guys aren't active, you kind of forget how good their team is. And I saw that first round pick out there and kind of caught my eye, and I was like, yeah, I'll make a move on that package. And I was like, I think Troy's probably getting the better end there, so wanted to try and top it. And in hindsight, it was a pretty crappy deal on my part, but it sparked a lot of interest.
Oh my gosh!
And supply was low, demand was high, and price went through. So, and then of course there was the little testosterone war between you and Monroe.
I mean, that's probably all it was. I don't know if either of us wanted to give up that much, even like past the second counter. But at that point, it was a point of principle, and I lost still. So, and I'm not complaining about it because that was a lot I was going to give up. I don't even remember what the last one was, but oof.
Yeah, it was multiple picks and multiple starting pieces. So
yeah,
yeah, it's one of the it definitely been there where a trade falls through. It's like all right, I guess I'm okay.
Yeah, did you get to a point, Nick, where you were just like, I'm just gonna keep building this up knowing that I'm gonna bow out, or were you seriously in there for the end?
I was serious in there. It was a dick measuring contest, I think, really. And Kyle's peepee's a little longer. That's what it comes down to.
Or it's a little shorter and he's, overcompensating. One of the two.
Whatever. I don't know.
Whatever side you take.
Stank, I got the next one for you. So similar to the Zeke trade, you sniped this Ingram trade from me. Were you hoping that the bidding war was going to take place?
It just seemed like a really low price for a starting running back, regardless how old he is. It's always good to have some extra pieces in there, and it seemed like a low price to pay. So I said, I can match that price. And if the bidding war ensued, I had my limit. I knew when to quit. I think. Yeah. Although Nick probably thought the same thing, and then things spiraled out.
Yep.
I think it'll be a nice addition to your room and be, your RB7 or 8 even. So
yeah, it's probably around there. But hey, I mean, you never know. It's good to have assets, and it gives me some flexibility to make some other trades if I want.
Yeah.
I think my reaction when I saw that trade, I think I texted these guys and I said, like, LOL, why?
Yeah.
Just an FU to Jeff. Fuck you, Jeff.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's all about acquired value, and it seemed like something that would add value to the franchise. And so, why not?
When I was talking to Kamo about that, I was like, there's no one in this league that's going to, counter this. This is going to be a done deal. And I was a little surprised when you came through it. But
yeah,
it is what it is.
Well, of course, I was trying to make some deals with you, too, and I texted Kyle. I was like, you bailed him out. Man, I was trying to corner the market there. I got all these running backs I'm trying to get rid of, and he's telling me they're worthless. It's like, I don't want them to be worthless. I'm trying to drive the price up a little bit.
Playing the game.
Yeah. It's more than who you got on the team. It's about the way you control the league.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's just just like that bidding war. If you win the bidding war, you become the alpha male or the beta male like Nick.
Hey, I thought his pee-pee was smaller. I thought that's the conclusion we got to.
Jury's still out.
I was just playing devil's advocate. I didn't really believe it, Nick.
Yeah.
That kind of hurts, but okay. All right, so I got the next question for you. Are you feeling any concern about this next week matchup against John? I mean, he doesn't look good. They just made that trade for Mike Williams, but what do you think? I think your line's 15.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's a good pickup for him. I think that's a good trade for both you guys. I don't know what Jeff's strategy is, if it's to start selling off pieces, but he's pretty deep at wide receiver compared to running back, especially. So I think it's a good deal for both of them. Yeah, it's hard to take any matchups for granted. Obviously you can have a bunch of duds and lose to anyone really at this point. So
John.
Yeah, I mean the odds are in my favor. I wouldn't nothing to 100%.
Yeah,
John's the only team in the division I haven't beaten 3 or more times.
Oh, those are pretty coach-like answer there. Every game you gotta come out and play, and anybody can be up any given day, and
gotta eat your waffles.
Way to toe that line.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. John's the only team in the division I haven't beat. But granted, the only time I played him was when his team was actually good. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, because you only played him one time last year.
Yeah, it was like week 3 when he still had Metcalf and Hopkins, and Ridley.
Oh, Ridley. Yeah. Ridley too, yeah.
Chubb.
Yeah.
Jeez, his team was so good.
No, man, you got to rebuild. Got to get younger.
Rebuild from year one.
Oh man.
Hey, he just traded a first-round pick for a 26-year-old receiver, so let's
Making
not.
moves.
Pushing a few chips in. I don't know how to read that. He might be hustling this whole time.
Yeah, no.
All right,
exactly.
Looking at this matchup specifically, Stank. I gotta think Jalen Hurts has got a pretty nice matchup with Dallas. I think he's going to be running around quite a bit. I think that's going to be a solid play for you. Outside some of those running backs, I think you'll run away with some of these receivers you got going against Johns.
Oh, and that tight end room. Ooh, baby.
Hawk against Baltimore isn't going to be maybe as Green Bay's defense is bad, and San Francisco, they got down where they were passing so much, which will probably still be the case against Baltimore. But he just gets so many targets, it doesn't really matter.
Right? Yeah, I mean,
32 against opposing.
He's effectively the number one wide receiver on a team that's going to be a lot of bad scripts. So
yeah,
I
do
mean,
like the Rondale Moore play too.
Yep.
Yeah, I got him in there right now. I'm not 100% sold on it.
Hopkins banged up too. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Moore had a big week last week. He had that 77-yard touchdown.
You got Moore in there right now. Who's another candidate that you're thinking about throwing in that flex for? What are some of your start sit questions?
Okay, here's one for you guys. Moore Mitchell on the spot.
Moore Mitchell.
Elijah Mitchell coming off some injuries. I'm probably going to go Moore, especially looking at San Francisco and how they treat running backs in general. I just don't think that, especially in a game you're supposed to win. I feel like we talked about this a lot last week of like, you don't need to shoot for the fences and hope for somebody to explode. You kind of just need someone to be steady with the other guys on your roster able to go off. So for me, that's pretty easy. I think Moore has proven he's going to get a lot of targets in that offense. Even if he catches 6 balls for 40 yards, that's a solid enough day to not sink you.
Yeah, that's true.
I
don't know. Go ahead, Jeff.
I'd say I was just going to second that. I think I'm going Moore. I'm pretty much starting anyone in that Arizona offense early on in this year, just for how much points they're putting up and how aggressive they're being too. So what I saw from Moore last week was pretty impressive. So I like that play. I think it's going to pay off for you.
Should I start AJ Green too? Touchdown last
I don't know.
You did have a touchdown.
That Mitchell play, everyone else is hurt. I mean, he is hurt too. I would just pay attention to that. I would just pay attention towards game time decisions. Yeah. If he's the only healthy running back, that might be the highest floor play.
Those game time decisions always get you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like the Moore pick though.
Yeah.
No love for Mark Ingram, your new high price acquisition.
Oh, we'll give him some time to learn the playbook, get his feet wet.
Jeff, Nick, you got anything else for Kyle?
Yeah, I got one more quick one for you, Kyle. Were there any off-season moves or lack of moves that kind of surprised you the most?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big one that had a lot of people kind of scratching their heads for one reason or another was the CD Lamb for Marquez Callaway and Mac Jones. Mac knew I was going to say it. He knew that was the worst acquisition.
That's brutal.
Especially Callaway, 2 games, he got 1 catch each game.
Yeah. I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah, but
he did that same thing with Jefferson.
Yeah, it's one of those tough ones where you can see it's not a good deal, and it's one of them where you're tempted to counter, but it's he's targeting those guys, and it's it's not worth jumping in. He's pretty set on what he wants.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I talked to others who went in to try to counter that trade, and it wasn't that he was trying to get rid of CD by any means. He just thought really highly of Callaway. Even talking to Cooley, he said straight up that I think really highly of Callaway. He loved Mac Jones. It was just that he wanted to get those 2 guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. And you see a lot of trades are like that. It's kind of frustrating when you're trying to counter and you have the pieces to make something happen like that. But, sometimes you're on the other side of that where you just have the piece that one guy loves and is willing to overpay for it. So you never know.
Like when you have the 3rd overall pick and someone offers you Derrick Henry and you're like, okay, I guess.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, much like that.
So, I mean, that's another case. He just wanted a draft pick. And in the also confusing Ridley trade, I talked to John and he said, I want the pick. It's like, okay, all right, I guess you're going for the pick. There's nothing I can do. You know, I could have on day and you still want the pick. So
yeah,
Wow.
and like talking to like going back to the trade I made with Troy, like talking to Troy, he said, you know, there's 3 people in this draft that I'd be happy walking away with, and so it had to be a top 3 pick for him to trade that away. So John was the only one realistically that had a chance to steal that trade without doing something absurd, obviously. But yeah, so it's that's absolutely it, and that's part of the game, right? Is I don't value players the same way that you value players the same way. You know, everybody's looking at it totally different, and I think that's where sometimes we get caught up and we start scratching our head because, you know, game 1, Marquez Callaway could have came out and had 2 touchdowns and 140 yards, and suddenly we'd be like, oh well, maybe it wasn't such a bad deal. And
we could be saying that could happen next week too, and we could be saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's too early to gauge for now, and obviously he's 2-0 right now, so you know anything that's happened up to this point is kind of irrelevant. So if he starts popping off and winning some games, you know, sure, he wins a handful of games. I think getting the first rounder back in addition is, you know, nice too. So
yeah, for sure.
yeah, it's too early to tell. It's just one of those that it's hard to tell how it pans out until the whole season plays out. Same thing with my deal with John for Deshaun Watson. You know, he could end up winning that thing in a runaway if Watson comes back next season, but he never plays another game. You know, I don't think he really lost much. He probably wasn't going to play Moss a whole lot anyway.
Yeah, this week he might be.
Right.
For sure. But yeah, it's one of those where I really wasn't losing anything, having Hurts coming in, and he really wasn't losing much with the pieces that he gave away. So it's kind of a low-risk situation for both of us. And I don't know. We'll see how it pans out. It's not looking too great for him, but you never know. Things can turn around. Get a good
always
lawyer.
look back at all the trades from season 1, and obviously a lot of them look a lot different than maybe we thought at the time. So,
Captain Hindsight, come in and
Hey, baby!
strong.
come in hot.
All right, Stank. Well, you know, as is the inaugural tradition, it's time for some voodoo.
Kyle's curse.
You're not the only one cursed with knowledge.
Go ahead and give it to us. Who's on your bad list this time?
Well, this is someone who already experienced the curse, perhaps inadvertently. But I was in some negotiations with Tony for Raheem Mostert, and he wanted a little bit too much, and so we didn't make a deal. And then he got nothing because Raheem Mostert tore his ACL.
And then he got nothing.
That's classic Kai's curse.
That is classic Kai's curse.
Kind of stuff that happens.
Trying to stay on the good side of that curse.
Yeah,
seriously.
good luck. Oh my god.
Oh, all right. I love it. You know, always nice. It's our first guest appearance of the year. It's always fun. You know, they're going to keep coming as the weeks go on. So, Stank, appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah. Hope you guys have a good rest of the show.
Okay, on.
Baby?
We will.
Thanks, Stank.
It's good. It's really going to seem like this happened in the middle. So.
Hell yeah.
All right, Stank. Appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Talk
This
to you later,
is
buddy.
Bye.
All right, that was always nice to sit down. Stank just throwing shade the whole time. You know, as our biggest critic, I would expect nothing less.
Yep. He did a nice job He did a nice job in that interview. Came prepared, had a lot of good talking points, and well done, Stank.
There's some good
what a
coach
stud
speak
that
in
man
there.
is.
You know. My favet was, I think I mentioned it during the interview too. Was anybody can beat anybody any week. You know, we got to come out prepared. And, all that.
He's saying the right things.
Got to say the right things. You know, got to keep the players, active. Got to keep their heads in the right spot. So I know we talked about the matchup a little bit, but why don't we just run around and throw our picks out there? I'm going Stank in this one. I got him covering. I think that John's lineup, especially if Darrell Henderson is hurt and ends up missing this game, is just in a little bit too rough of shape for me to bet on him. Jeff, how about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Stank this week as well. I just think he's got too much there, and even with John's addition of Mike Williams there, I see Stank's team having another good week and getting to 3-0.
For sure. Nick, how about you?
I say Stink does not cover this one. I like what I see out of Najee. I think DK is going to start overtaking. He's bound to have a good game. He has the targets, and I like the addition of Mike Williams against. They're playing Kansas City, right? I don't want to fuck that up again.
Yes, they are.
Yep. Yes. Good God. Yep. So I'm taking that he won't get that 15-point mark. So.
All right, then one last thing I got to throw on this matchup is
Nick's Garbage Time All-Star.
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage.
Yeah, baby. And the man that's eating garbage this week is Hawkinson. I think Baltimore's going to get up big, and Hawkinson will have a touchdown late.
I think that's how you should always refer to it right from now on. The man that's eating garbage. Oh,
1-1, baby. I'm coming back strong. Here we go.
All right, moving into our next matchup, we got the Taint Ticklers at 1-1 taking on Benny and the Jets at 1-1. Taint Ticklers are the 1-point favorite. We got a nice tight matchup here. Jeff, why don't I toss this one to you first? What do you see?
I see, if everything would move, I see Nick in this matchup covering this line, and I don't know why necessarily that I'm going with that, but
confidence.
Yeah, I just think I think Nick's gonna somehow find a way to win this. I like Wilson. They're gonna just be slinging the ball all over the place. You touched on Metcalf last matchup. I think he is gonna have a pretty good game. I think Lockett's gonna stay tight, even with him on Ben's team. I still think Wilson's gonna shine, and Kamara's got to be better, right? He had a terrible week, you would hope, and so I think he bounces back. I think they get him involved. I think they just get him on the right path there. So with those points, I see you got Shepard down there. I like that matchup against Atlanta too. You'll see how it goes. Right now he's been the number one in that offense, and you're rolling with him. So I think you got enough in there, Nick, to cover this and win by that margin.
Yeah, it's interesting. Really that you're really betting on Nick, especially because of
Jeff's Keep On Cooking.
Who wants some man meat? I do. I want some man meat.
Yeah, so last week, Cooper Kupp was just an animal. He had 32.8 points. He just kept cooking. And I still think he's going to have that connection in that high-scoring game against the Bucs. He is Stafford's number one right now through these first 2 weeks. I think he's going to keep on going. So that's why Jeff's just keep on cooking Cooper Kupp this week.
Nick, why don't I toss it over to you? Who you seeing in this one?
I don't love all my matchups. Kamara at New England, I don't know. He has to have a better game. Will he have that Kamara-esque game? I know. And Gibson at Buffalo, that's tough too. But it's a 1-point spread, so I got to take myself to cover that. So I'm going to take myself with that. I mean, Ben's team still looks scary. The only downside, you got Hunt and Gesicki. And we talked about Lockett. I think he's still going to have a great game, but I think it's going to be less so comparison to DK. I actually have a sit-'em question for you guys. I'm trying to decide again between Shepard and Galladay. We got Ingram coming back. Is that going to take some target shares away from Shepard because he's living off that short PPR kind of point system?
Yeah, right. I'll start this one off happily. You never want to overreact to 1 week, right? And I think that was kind of your thought process last week. Yeah, I'm getting there. I think that was kind of your thought process last week, right? Stick with Galladay, stick with what you had all off season. Don't overreact to 1 week. I think 2 is enough of a sample size for me. 2 games of the target share we saw. The amount of work and integration into the offense, I don't think that just disappears for Sterling Shepard. So I think that's kind of the safer play, and it's the play that's been working out, right? So I think a bad game for Shepard and a bad game for Galladay, the bad game for Shepard doesn't look as bad, and I think they both have similar ceilings, similar upsides. So I'd probably roll with Shepard. I'd roll with what I've seen on the field, the connection I've seen given this offense. Jeff, what about you?
Well, Nick, let me ask you: does Pittman come into this question as well with those targets that he saw last week? Because
Depends.
I think I look at this as a three-headed monster, and
It is.
I'm good with rolling with Shepard. I would go Shepard, Pittman, then probably Galladay. But that's a tough decision you're probably going to have to make week in and week out. So
Right. It was promising seeing that target share for Pittman. I don't know with the injured quarterback play how that's going to look. That's kind of where I'm a little leery of starting him.
Another factor that plays into that too is missing the name. Paris Campbell was out that game. A starting wide receiver wasn't playing, so is that target share inflated because of that? You got the quarterback questions. I'd probably agree with you, Jeff, that I think he's in that conversation, but I'd still roll Shepard.
Throw Felton in there. You're
pay big, baby.
This week.
You spent 40 fab on him, you may as well.
Let's go, baby.
Make him earn his money.
Down. Jarvis
got to earn that contract.
Baby. Yeah. Hell yeah, he'll earn it.
All right, well, I'm going to take Ben in this one, and it's a little bit of a cheap play here, but because it's only a 1-point line, but I'm going to take it anyway.
Mike's against the expert's pick. Are you going to listen to a big dummy, or are you going to listen to me?
Yeah, I think Ben's team's been showing enough these first 2 weeks, and Nick, I think that last week especially, your team kind of showed the downside that it has. And I think that those running backs, if those running backs don't have good matchups, I think that's kind of where your floor comes in, right? I think in neutral scripts, those two are going to do enough to get you the floor, and then your wide receivers are all good enough to then push that ceiling. I think Buffalo is a bad matchup this week, and I think New England is a bad matchup for your two backs this week. So I think that's enough that I'm taking Benny in this one. Benny's team's hot right now, so I'm going to roll with the hot hand. Moving on to our last matchup, we got Old Man Joe sitting at 1-1, taking on I Am Left-Handed at 2-0. The lefties are a 29-point favorite because why wouldn't they be? I look at this one. There's not a whole lot that I like on Joe's side of the ball. And we've talked about Kyle's team enough. We're not going to sit here and go into all these players specifically. But I'm taking Kyle to cover this. It wasn't a whole lot of a question for me, despite that huge line. I just think, like we talked about earlier, his floor is so high for that team that I'm rolling with Monroe. Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, I'm in that same boat right there, Mike. I think Monroe's team is going to bounce back and have a pretty good week. Some of his matchups they're okay. They're not great, but I think he's going to do enough to get this win and cover that spread. It's 29 points is a lot, so it hurts me to say that, but you see Joe's got Ayuk in his starting lineup right now, so that's scary to me, right? So we'll see if that stays in there and what Joe ultimately ends up going with, but rolling with the lefties.
Yeah, it hurts because I love the DJ Moore play against Houston. I love the A.J. Brown against Indy. But then I look across and they're going up against Tyreek and DeAndre Hopkins. So he didn't gain anything there, right? All he's doing with great matchups is breaking even on those players. So, it's really tough. Nick, how about you?
Yeah, I'm taking him to cover it again. His team is just too fucking good. And Arizona against Jacksonville, good Lord. I mean, they're going to get up so big. It's going to be ridiculous. And it feels like they just keep pressing on the gas pedal. So, I don't like really anything. Miles Sanders might be decent against Dallas, depending on the game script.
Monday night, too? You never know.
Yeah, I still think Kyle covers this pretty easily.
Yeah, so we do have a start-sit question coming in from Kyle on this one. He wants to know in his flex, does he start Cordell Patterson or does he start Chase Edmonds? Nick, how about you first on this one? What are you thinking?
I think you should start Edmonds here. I haven't seen enough out of Patterson. Maybe as the season progresses and we see what he did last week translate to more often and more consistent play and more consistent share of that backfield. So I'm gonna take Edmonds on this one against Jacksonville. So I know that's heavy loaded again on Arizona, and we don't like putting all our eggs in one basket, but it doesn't, like we talked about, his flex doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you want to weigh in on this one next?
I don't really have much to say. I would go Edmonds. I'm with Nick. I want to see Patterson do it more than just 1 week, and maybe he is that lead guy back there with being the wide receiver, running back, however you want to categorize him. But I think Edmonds is going to get some work early in this game before it's ultimately a blowout. And I think he finds his way into the end zone and has a pretty solid game. So that's what I'm rolling with.
Yeah, I'm right with you guys. I got Edmonds in this. I think Kyle's going to play Patterson because I think he wants to play Patterson.
Yes,
I think
wants those forwards.
It's almost a game to him at this point that he just wants to try to play Cordero Patterson in a real lineup. I don't think that's the right call at all, though. Cordero Patterson had 7 attempts for 11 yards. Yeah, he got a touchdown, but does a guy getting 11 yards on 7 attempts really deserve a touchdown?
Yeah.
No. He got some good receiving work. He had some nice catches out of the backfield. I don't think that goes away, but I also think that this is a different game script going up against the Giants. That's not going to be a consistent enough guy that I'd want to count on him in any sense. And Arizona should be up pretty big against Jacksonville. That I think Chase Edmonds could be a surprisingly good start in that game script. So.
What about Julio? We're not even talking about Julio's great game last week. He's not in that conversation.
Yeah, that's a little confusing to me. Why those are the only 2 guys in play, or Odell Beckham? Honestly, everybody's hurt in Cleveland, and if he suits up this week, do you trust him game 1? That's risky, but he should probably be in that conversation if those are the guys you're really talking about. But I don't know.
It's a game to him.
I'd probably truly start Julio in that situation, but I think Kyle
got a
wants
lot of
to start.
options.
I think Kyle just wants to start Cordero Patterson, so I think that's what he's going to do.
Yes, true.
All right, boys, you know what it is.
Ask me the questions, Bridgekeeper. I'm not afraid.
This here's Mike's. Will it happen?
I got you, baby. Will DK outscore Lockett? We talked about it a little bit.
Ooh. It will happen.
That was Mike's.
Ooh.
Will it happen?
All right, boys. One last segment, and then we hit the road.
Shut up, baby.
Shut up, baby.
Shut up, baby, I know it.
Shut up, baby, I know it. Absolute guarantee.
All right, Jeff, lead us off.
All right, we talked about Chartier's wide receiver group being kind of sneaky good, and one of those guys in there is Claypool. So my absolute guarantee is Chase Claypool will score his first touchdown this season.
Shut up, baby, I know it.
Nick?
All right, this one's going out on a limb. I know you guys probably make fun of me for this one, but my shut up, baby guarantee is Keenan Allen will finally outscore Mike Williams.
Ooh.
Shut up, baby, I know it.
Well, I can't really make fun of you because this is more of a pride pick for me. The Archduke Fish is going to pick up their first win of the season. It's got to happen. I guarantee it.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
This is a pride pick at this
rolling.
point. We need it. Otherwise, things are going to get real squirrely real quick.
Going to go on another 9-game losing streak, you think, this year? Hey!
Oh, jeez. You might.
I know. I'll break
Shut
up.
up,
I'll get a
baby,
couple wins in there and break up the losing streaks.
I say as we have the same
shit.
record, so.
It's
All right, boys. It's been a good week. Next week's show will probably come out one day later than normal, just so that everybody's aware. But until next time, good luck, everybody, unless you're playing one of us. Have a good one.
Webster's Dictionary defines radish as a swollen, pungent-tasting edible root, high in potassium, which can help lower blood pressure. Or more importantly, 3 guys spitting nonsense and talking about fantasy football. Add salt and pepper and chomp into another episode next time. See y'all later.
I suck. When am I going to learn who's on each team?